I'm Anna,
And I'm Fran.
and you're listening to Murder Words. All right, you guys, today we are going to go over the horrifying, almost unreal story of Daniel LaPlante.
Ooh, LaPlante.
I've heard it I've heard it also referred to as LaPlante,
Mm,
but I'm going with LaPlante
that sounds
for
much more
this.
interesting.
Yes.
LaPlante.
I can't wait to tell you guys the story. It's going to blow your mind. It blew mine. Shout out to my dad for telling me about this because he's equally as creepy as Fran and I. So,
Oh.
Daniel was born on May 16th, 1970, in Massachusetts. He had a terrible childhood. It was equivalent to a hoarder's house. There were animals everywhere, junk laying around. It was not a clean environment for adults, let alone children. They were the kind of family that no one really wanted to be around. They were just like a strange family. Like no one in the neighborhood wanted to like talk to them when they were outside. They kind of avoided them.
Oh, that's sad.
Yes, and unfortunately Daniel was abused growing up, sexually and psychologically.
No.
His father was to blame for most of his abuse. So, on top of all of this, he also had trouble in school because of dyslexia. If a serial killer can be created, like this is how.
Oh.
He he was a loner. Apparently, he had extremely bad hygiene, and due to all of this, it was difficult for him to make friends.
He just had not a chance.
He had no chance.
Oh. Okay.
In fact, his friends and family described him as scary and strange.
See, even the family didn't support him.
Yeah,
I would never say that about my kid.
Literally, that is, I read that in multiple places.
Oh.
That's how they described him, scary and
If
strange.
that's how they put it out there, like, can you imagine what they said in the house about him?
Yes, and I'm sure it wasn't much different for the adults either. They were also probably scary and
It was
strange.
just as scary. The Adams family when they just rolled out. No clothes them everywhere.
So, due to all these factors, he was eventually referred to a psychiatrist.
Thank goodness. They never do that nowadays.
Yeah, this was, though, extra traumatizing because he was also believed to have been abused by a mental health provider when he was young.
Stop it. That is
So,
awful.
Yes. I did also think it was strange that, back then they were referring him to a psychiatrist because I feel like even now it is difficult.
There's so much stigma around it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I can imagine that in the 70s, especially for like a male.
Yes.
Like women, they thought there was just like hysteria or whatever. Really
Yes,
gross process.
hysteria. Yeah.
We all know the processes. They thought would cure that. Ooh. Okay, go ahead.
So, around the age of 15, Daniel started to display some strange behaviors. He would break into people's houses. Sometimes he would steal things, but most of the time, he would just move things around and leave.
Oh, that would freak me out
So
bad.
he just literally went in, would totally run their lives and make them think they were crazy. I mean, can you imagine coming home and like your stuff is moved and you're just like, what is happening right now?
I would. I think that would literally make me go crazy.
Yes.
Just slightly to the left. You know what I mean? Just slightly to the left.
So during one of the break-ins, he got the number of a neighborhood girl named Annie Andrews. Annie was also 15. She lived with her father, Brian, and her younger sister, Jessica, who was 8 years old. Annie's mother had recently passed away from cancer. So this family was already in like the most vulnerable state. I mean, it was like a couple months before this happened. So it's very fresh. They're just trying to deal with this loss at such a young age.
So he was 15 when this is all happening.
He was 15 and Annie is 15.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So enter Daniel LaPlante. Like this is where he starts getting crazy.
Even more than moving things
Scary,
around the house?
strange, smelly Danny.
Oh my
Here
gosh.
he comes. So he called Annie and told her he went to a nearby school and he's pulling a catfish. He told her that he was a jock, described himself like very athletic, blonde hair, very good looking, and like eventually persuaded her to go on a date with him.
What did he really look like?
We are going to definitely post pictures of what he really looked like, but it's definitely
Not
what you would imagine when you hear of someone being described as scary, strange, and smelly. 100%.
Not the all-American boy.
It is not the jock that he explained himself to be.
Okay.
I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen when he actually showed up to pick Annie up, but when she opened the door, she was obviously extremely surprised, but Annie is a real-life angel, and she went anyway.
She didn't care.
She didn't care. She went anyway. They went to get ice cream, and everything was going well until Annie brought up her mother. She said, my mom passed away from cancer, and Daniel thought it was appropriate to start asking questions like, how was she feeling when she was dying? What did she look like? So
This is on the first date, right?
First date, immediately, like, he was not showing, like, care and concern about her losing her mom. He was like, what was it like when she was dying? She got freaked out. There was, of course, never a second date.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that hurt Danny's pride. He was not okay with that.
Even though he showed up as a different person.
Thought it was going to be just totally fine. She wasn't going to notice that he wasn't a jock. No thanks, Daniel. So, Annie and her sister Jessica were grieving so badly. This made me so sad because I feel like this is something I would have done as a child. They held a seance to try to, like, communicate with their mother.
Oh.
Because they were just grieving so bad. Like, they missed her so bad.
That seems very right. I mean, in that situation, I could really see someone not being able to process something, just wanting to reach out to their mom for one last time. I could see that.
Yes. I mean, I feel like I would try that now if that happened. So, almost immediately after the seance, they started to hear strange noises. So, of course, they think, like, this is our mom talking to us. Like, she's communicating with us because it was immediately after the seance.
So what were the strange noises?
Oh, we're going to get to it.
Okay, I'll be patient. I just keep hearing, like, booga booga boo.
Oh, they were beating on, there was beating on the walls, a few other things that we'll get into, but it started with beating on the walls, tapping, things like that. So, and they thought, too, like, this is kind of an old house, like, it could be that, anything that we would think.
Mm-hmm.
So the weird part was the noises never happened when their dad, Brian, was home. It was only when he was gone. So they would call him, telling him that they were afraid. He was starting to get frustrated. He didn't believe them. Mm-hmm. He thought that they weren't dealing with their mom's death very well, and they were just kind of seeking attention from their dad.
I could see that.
Yeah, he was working long hours trying to, like, make up for like the bills and things like that, and it was he didn't believe them at all. Meanwhile, while he was at work, items were being moved, lights were being turned on and off or flickered, and the doorbell would ring, and when the girls answered it, no one would be there. No thank you. Like, no. I would move immediately.
I would pitch a tent in the back. Like, there'd be no way.
This sounds like a ghost story. This sounds like an actual, like, just like a scary movie, like Paranormal Activity. It's terrifying.
Is it not going to be a ghost story?
It's not a ghost story. Oh my gosh. It is not a ghost story.
I was thinking this was going to end as ghost. Like, dun dun dun, like, is it a ghost?
No ghost.
Okay.
No. One night, the girls were home alone. They started hearing noises from the basement.
You don't go in the basement when your dad's not home.
They decided to go down.
No, you don't go down in the basement.
You will never find me in the basement.
No.
I will. No, that's not happening.
Especially those basements where there's, like, just stairs and you think someone can touch you before you can look down.
Oh my, I bet that's what it was.
I bet it was exactly like that.
When they went down in the basement, just get ready for this.
What?
You guys get ready for this. I legit almost fell onto the floor when I read this. They're written on the wall in what looked like blood was, "I'm in your room, come find me."
Stop it.
I swear.
I would have been frozen in fear and probably peed my pants.
I
just would have stood there.
Panicked. They called their dad. He was furious. He came home from work And he finally, like, he saw that and he was like, okay, maybe something is going on. And he called the cops.
So he did believe them.
He did believe them at this point. He was like, something's happening. Like, why is this blood written on the wall? So the police show up. They search the basement. It is clear, and the red substance on the wall is ketchup. Brian immediately blamed the girls and thought they were just being like extra and like really taking it to a whole new level of trying to get his attention. He has them go to therapy.
Okay, that's
I really
reasonable.
enjoy in this story how they are referring people to mental health services because
that was not something they did.
Yes.
It was very, very quiet.
But here's the thing, like if I were Brian, I would legitimately think the same thing. I would not believe my children. I would be like, you guys, like, you know, yeah. I'd do the same thing. Like, let's get you some help.
Yes.
And I really do think he was just trying to be the best dad because he would come home when they called.
Yeah.
And he was like really trying.
And he was grieving too during all that.
Yeah, and he was trying to make up for the loss. After the basement incident, there were a few weeks of silence. Brian thinks the therapy is working and that they are learning to cope in a healthier way. But of course, after the silent few weeks, the knocking starts again. And this is about to get real crazy.
What?
This time, the knocking was coming from upstairs. Again, they went to investigate.
Who went to investigate?
The girls.
Dad didn't go with them? Oh,
he wasn't there. He wasn't there.
Okay.
He's off at work, and the knocking starts again. It's upstairs, and they are like, we're going to go check it out.
Can you imagine this? Like, they're probably standing up there thinking, like, whispering, like, Mom? You know what I mean? Like, how traumatizing is that?
Listen, when I was a child, my best friend Liz and I, when we stayed in her house, we would hear noises. We would legit get a kitchen knife and like go try to figure, like, we would be so scared. That's what I imagine is happening because that's what we did.
Yeah.
When they got up there was another message on a mirror in the red ketchup that said, "I'm back, find me." Can you imagine?
No.
Like, I'm getting chills reading this.
And then what do you do, too? Like, your dad just accused you of doing it.
Yeah. So they ran downstairs, found a picture of Annie on the wall with a knife stabbed through the heart. Yes. They ran to the neighbor's house, and the neighbor called Brian. Brian came home angry, thinking they have really taken this too far. The neighbor said the girls are seriously so scared. Like, he said they were just straight panicked. Like, he could tell, like, something was going on. He believed him. Okay. He said, I will stand here with the girls and just kind of, like, make them feel better while you go check the house out. Brian was like, okay. You know, the door was open to the house. So he walks in. When he walked in, everything was like trashed. Items were moved. Oh my gosh. All the TVs were on and the volume was full blast.
That is terrifying.
Literally so scary. So he's starting to think at this time, like, okay, maybe something actually is going on. He searches the entire house and then he walks upstairs into Annie's room. He sees a message on the wall that says, "Marry me." And then looks over, a man standing in the corner of the room with his deceased wife's dress on, makeup, and carrying an axe.
What?
It is none other than Daniel LaPlante.
What?
Literally, I just cannot imagine what is happening right now.
Can you imagine that moment?
So some reports say that there was a physical altercation and Daniel escaped. So, of course, he called the police. They were searching the residence outside, and while they were inside, one of the officers found like a secret entryway into the walls.
That's like my worst nightmare.
Yes, and once they entered, they found him inside of the walls, still wearing that dress, still with the makeup on.
And an axe? He just had that by him?
I don't know if he had the axe when he was arrested, but he was definitely holding it when Brian walked into the room. They came to the conclusion that he had been living inside of the walls, torturing this family for months. They found wrappers, drinks, and lights. Like, he was spending time in there. He could see when Brian was coming and going. He could see everything the girls were doing.
Oh my, did he have like little peek holes everywhere?
Yes. He could see everything. So he was taken into custody and charged with armed assault in a dwelling, breaking and entering, malicious injury to a property, and armed burglary.
Nothing about their mental torture of the ladies. No, absolute torment.
He was evaluated at Bridgewater, which is like a hospital, and then he was sent to juvie.
Oh yeah, because he's still only 15 during all this.
Yes. I wish this was the end
of
Daniel LaPlante, but he's not done.
So where is this?
He's not done.
Smelly, stinky, weird family during all this. Like, did they just not notice he was gone for a couple months?
I guess they just, didn't care. I couldn't find too much about the family, but I guess they just weren't paying attention. Oh. So, in 1987, the courts decided that Daniel should be tried as an adult and sent to adult prison.
I can agree with that.
Yes. At that point, Daniel's mom was able to post bond and bail him out.
Why?
And she did.
Why?
She absolutely did.
How could he even get a bond?
I guess because he was going back to be retried, he was able to be bonded out until that trial happened.
So was there any kind of like things where you couldn't contact that family or Annie or anything?
I did not see anything about that. He didn't go to that family though.
Oh.
He found a different one. Within a few weeks. He was already back to his weird behavior of breaking in, moving items, scaring people, just doing the same stuff. During one of his break-ins, he chose his next family. The Gustafson family.
Oh.
The mother, Priscilla, who was pregnant, and a teacher.
Is this getting so sad? This
is so sad. And it's also a trigger warning. So this involves children. So you might just want to fast forward if that's something that you can't listen to. So Priscilla was pregnant. She was a teacher. She had her husband, Andrew, and her 2 children, 7-year-old Abigail and 5-year-old William. Daniel broke into the Gustafson residence, raped Priscilla, and then shot her with a revolver. Oh my gosh. He then drowned Abigail and William. Abigail also had blunt force trauma in the back of her neck and head.
Oh my gosh.
So Andrew, the father, came home to find his family like this. As the police were on the scene, they noticed some similarities in this scene to the scene at Annie's house when Daniel LaPlante was in there. They decided to drop in unannounced on Daniel, who, strangely enough, lived directly behind the Gustafsons. I think it was like it said in some things I read, it was like a mile away, but it was woods and it was directly behind it.
So you could see
nothing was in between it.
Right.
When they showed up to his house, he took off running. He did get away and they had to start a huge search for him. They had to call Brian and warn him, like, the actual psycho who lived in your walls is on the loose, and just like prepare yourself because he might be coming back
over your house. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course he's panicked. The whole community is panicked because there's a murderer on the loose. The police were flooded with tips for 2 days. The entire town was helping. Officers who were off duty were coming in to help search because they wanted to catch him so badly. Finally, there was a sighting at a lumber yard close by. The police surrounded the entire facility, including helicopters. They were just bringing everything
in for it.
They wanted to make sure, like, if he escaped, they could see him with the helicopters. Mm-hmm. They literally tricked Daniel into his arrest.
How so?
I couldn't believe this when I read this.
Well,
I was like, this is like so smart.
This guy seems like he has a huge ego about him, and like he's smarter than other people.
Yes, and he thinks, he literally tortured a family and he's back out. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure, feels untouchable right, mm-hmm. now.
Like he got away with something.
Mm-hmm. They pretended to pull back. They acted like the scene was clear and they were like, all right, we can't find anything. Let's pull back. They had the helicopters back off and everything. So they knew he was in there and they knew he was listening. So they wanted to seem less threatening so he would kind of venture his way out. Okay. So he thought he would left and it worked. Ooh. He came out, they were able to apprehend him and he laughed the entire time.
Oh my gosh, this kid, it's so weird calling him a kid.
Hysterically laughed the whole time that he was under arrest. He was found guilty for the murders of Priscilla, Abigail, and William. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences, which equals out to 45 years.
What?
Yes.
How does that add up?
So each life sentence was 15 years.
What state is this?
Massachusetts.
I feel like they hung witches for sneezing wrong. And here's like this guy killed 2 children and an adult, and he's just like, 15 years.
Yeah, because I mean he's young, so there's a good chance that he's gonna get out.
Yes.
He was sent to prison in 2017. Daniel petitioned the court for early release.
Please, he didn't get it.
This was the first time he showed any remorse. According to his court documents, this is what he said, quote, "Words cannot fully capture what I have done. I murdered 3 innocent people. Because of me, a 5-year-old boy will never turn 6. There is a 7-year-old girl that will never turn 8. Because of me, a woman will never be able to give birth to her 3rd child. I robbed an unborn child of his first breath. A husband was never able to hear from his family, 'I love you.' I do not have words to fully express my profound sorrow. But I am truly sorry for the harm I have caused. From the very essence of who I am, from the depth of my soul, I am sorry."
Okay, that's great.
Daniel, stop.
No, okay, that's great, whatever. But here's the thing. Like, if you truly feel sorry for something to that measure, like, you should be willing to make the amends for it for the rest of your life and not even try to get out.
And this was the first time he's ever shown any remorse. I mean, he laughed while he was being arrested.
That's great and all.
He wants to get out.
He wants to get out.
That's
like,
his goal.
He's planning his next attack.
Yes.
I mean, anyone that knows to go see the parole board, like, people talk about exactly what they want to hear. I don't believe a word he said about that. Because he didn't even mention that he sexually assaulted the mom.
Yes. Psychiatrists still insisted he was a man with no evidence of emotions or feelings.
That makes sense.
He was denied.
Great.
He tried again in 2019.
Ooh, it's too close for comfort.
He was again denied.
Good.
That was very recent.
That is so recent.
He is set to be released in 2032.
Is set to? Like his...
That's when his time will be served.
So what, he'll be 60?
Yes.
I still don't even like him at 60 being out.
Yes. 2032. That is not that far. That's
11 years.
Yeah. So that's terrifying. Hopefully he doesn't hear that we covered him and talked really bad about him in this podcast and come and find us.
Yeah, I feel like this house that we're recording in right now has lots of crawl spaces.
It does.
It really, look, I'm looking at this.
I'm a little freaked out right now.
That door is definitely a crawl space.
So I did try to look up information on the Andrews family to get an update on where they're at today. I can't find much on them. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that they want it that way.
Yeah, they probably with their privacy. They went through enough. Because I'm sure those girls had to testify too.
Yeah.
In those court cases. I mean, just re-traumatizing them over and over again.
Yeah. And he is still scary and creepy to this day. We'll post pictures of what he looks like during his appeals to try and get out, and from 2019, and it's not cute.
Still
Daniel.
didn't go well.
Prison is not helping him.
Really?
He does not look well.
See, no, that's on him at that point.
That is,
you know what I mean?
He has ample time to be in there working on his fitness, and he is just trying to. No.
He's probably just sitting there editing that big old long fake note he just put out.
Yeah. I also heard that he tried to. I read this. I'm not sure how true it is, but I heard that he tried to sue the prison. Don't quote me on this, I can get some of it wrong, because for not allowing him to practice his religion, openly. Not giving him, it was not giving him what he needed to practice it. He's a Satanist, like an
Oh.
open Satanist, and he
Mhm.
said he wasn't getting like the Adams. I mean, I can look more information up on that.
I would be really
There
interested.
wasn't much on it, so I
Mhm.
wasn't sure if I should include it or not. But he's tried everything he can to get the courts to feel sorry for him. Pretty much.
I don't think anybody does.
So
LaPlante.
LaPlante. That is the creepy, almost unreal story of Daniel LaPlante. So we will put pictures up of him. We will put our like sources, any information that we have on him. I'll look up the religion thing
I'd
of
be
him
really
in
interested
prison.
to see about that.
Um,
Because I
and-
wonder how close that was to like the letter he wrote too.
Yeah. I have a feeling it was probably after he was denied twice. Then he was like, now I'm going to try a different angle.
Yes.
And just sue
Everybody.
everybody.
Yes.
So we do have an email now, murderwordspodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
So send us an email. Let us know if you have any stories of your own, or if you just want us to cover a certain case, or just want to say hi. Also, make sure you hop on over and subscribe to our podcast. So, till later. Next week, y'all, is going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, just...
It's going to be a long one. It's going to be... You guys are probably similar or like familiar
It might
to the
have
case.
to be a 2-episode
It
one.
might have to be.
So,
Yeah, it might have to be. You guys are going to be familiar with it, but I think some of the details really in depth are going to blow your guys' mind.
Yes. Okay. All right. We love you guys, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.